Reconnecting.
Hey, I got it.
Yay!
We did it.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you.
You too. How are you?
I
Thank
am
you
so
much.
good.
So
And
resilient there.
say that again.
You're so resilient there.
You are so cute. I have to tell you, so I'll talk into the lens that looks like I'm talking to you, but when I started to watch the show, because Nick Lachey and Vanessa, they came onto the show, and so I was like, okay, well, I'll give this show a shot, you know, because I love Nick. I've known him a long time, and Vanessa. I was hooked the first episode. And all I did was just go home and watch for like 3 and 4 hours at a time. I mean, I wouldn't even go to bed. It was so fun. And I'm sure it wasn't that fun for you, though, was it? Oh, is she doing? Can you hear me?
Was it just me, or did the whole thing cut out for everyone else?
It all cut out just now.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So you watched it,
I
and
think
then...
I need a white balancer. There we go. We turned that thing off. Yeah, there you go. But for the show, I mean, it was so crazy, but I could not stop watching the show. But first of all, everybody, I am so excited to have Giannina. Is it Gibelli?
Gibelli.
Gibelli. And from the show Love is Blind, which I was so addicted to and watching. And I'm really thrilled to talk to you today. I think it's one of the few shows that's like a live kind of show like that I really got hooked into for a long, long time. But you went through so much. And so those of you who may not have seen it yet, I suggest you watch it because it's very interesting. But it was so cool because it was a very huge Netflix show, and it was so crazy because you went from being engaged to the groom saying, I do not. Yeah. And then it went to like now being in a serious relationship. And so I just had to talk to you just to see what everything was like. So first of all, you had you had to be so overwhelmed when they came to you with this idea, right? I mean, what made you say yes to it?
So I was actually at a place in my life where I had kind of just given up all hope. And I was like literally at a bar with my girlfriends, and I was telling them there are no more men for me in the city. And at that moment, I get a direct message on Instagram from someone saying, hey, I'm casting for this experience, la la la. And I called her, and she told me, yeah, so you can fall in love with someone without seeing them, and you may get married. And I was just in such like an accepting place, and I was like, okay, like I don't think I'll get picked, I don't think I'll get chosen, but this feels like it's divine timing, so I'm gonna do it. And they found me really close to the start date of the project, so I only had like 2 weeks before starting. And so
are you serious? Just 2 weeks?
Just 2 weeks. So like telling my family, and then going through the whole like, you know, letting my job know and everything. That part was definitely like, okay, I got to do this. I feel like it's, but I got to figure it out.
And your family was supportive and everything?
So my parents were very supportive. I have a very extended family, and everyone has their own opinion, which is good because they only want the best for me and to obviously make good choices.
Now, you're the baby of the family, right?
Sort of.
Are you the only girl?
No, so I have an older brother, but as far as who I consider my brothers and sisters, like my cousins are my brothers and sisters.
Right.
So I'm on the lower end.
A nice big family, I get it.
Nice big family, right? There's a lot
Yeah.
of us. But yeah, as far as me and my brother, I'm like the baby, so I'm a little bit more
okay.
to that, which is like spoiled.
So, you know, looking at you guys on the show, it was so amazing to me to see you, first of all, fall in love without seeing each other, and then seeing you guys see each other for the first time. But honestly, when it broke up, I was really sad. And then when I watched the reunion show, it was so amazing to me that you got back together. How did that make you feel? I mean, that was really an emotional roller coaster.
That's exactly what it was. And I was, first of all, I went in there with like a huge open mind and open heart. And if it happens for me, it happens. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And that's how I went to it. And when it came down to having the wedding and us feeling that we were in different places in our lives, I felt like I was also struggling with figuring out, you know, what I wanted and who I was and who I want to spend the rest of my life with.
Right.
And so when it came down to it, it's like, okay, timing isn't perfect. This was a lot. I just lived so much with you and we just went through so many emotional roller coasters together. Can we do this outside of this crazy experiment? And that's where it was like, okay, let's be G and Dame in more normal circumstances. Can we take it day by day?
Did you initiate that, or did Damian initiate that?
So I reached back out after the wedding because I wanted to just not lose any sleep over it. I wanted to just know, hey, are we friends, or are we like, how do you feel? I don't want to leave things on bad terms. I just didn't want to do that.
Well, that's sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, because it especially when you share such a piece of you with someone else. Like I've always felt like, okay, let's just always send good vibes is kind of like my thing. So we talked and we just like held each other the whole night and like healed. And then we were like, okay, let's take it day by day. And that's literally what we've been doing since.
Well, and I'm sure you learned the communication skill. But first of all, okay,
Yeah.
so you were in isolation, I guess you could say, on the show.
Yes.
And you were only allowed to talk, I'm sure, which led to some of your conversations. But then you finally met. And how was that? How did you feel? Were you just like, is he cute?
Right. So you always, I don't know. I feel like even before this experiment, when I would go on Hinge or like any of those like dating apps, I would always romanticize the person and be like, okay, they're gonna talk this way or be this way or do that. So that I definitely carried into the pods, because whenever like I saw Damian, obviously the face that I somehow put together didn't match, because what are the odds?
Yeah, I was wondering that.
No, but you always like imagine someone, he sounded really big. So I was like, okay, he's going to be tall. Maybe he'll be around that size. But I never had a type. If you look at any of the guys that I've dated, it's like, what's the correlation here? And it's really like about personality for me. So I was like, okay, I'm curious to see if I'm going to like this. I don't really have a type, but maybe I do, but with the mannerism or with the this. So I definitely had to like learn to love him as who he was, rather than like my romanticized version of whoever I thought.
Yeah, that had to be. Speaking of Damian, where is Damian?
So he's here. He has really bad allergies. So let me see if he's feeling better.
Damian! Bless your hearts. Yes, we have to see Damian, even if he sneezes and goes back to bed. No. This is so fun. I'm looking at all your comments, you guys, and you love the show. I know it really was so fascinating to watch. And I know Gia and Damian had really great energy. You're absolutely correct. And that's one of the reasons why I was so excited to talk to them today. But so is he there?
Yeah, he's here.
Damian!
I feel bad because he has this.
Oh, he's cute.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, how are you? It's so good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Oh my gosh, you guys were the couple everybody watched. And it was the biggest roller coaster for everyone to see. Hey, Damian, just, we were just talking about being on the show and how it felt and seeing each other the first time.
Yeah.
That had to be crazy. What was your first thought when you saw, do I call you Giannini, or he calls you what, Gia?
He calls me G or Giannina. Yeah, G.
Okay. When you saw G, what did you think?
When I first saw her?
Was she what you thought or imagined?
No. I think halfway through, I stopped trying to imagine what she looked like, and I tried to trust in the experiment. And it's so many different things run through your head. It's like, oh, she's Venezuelan, she's Croatian, Italian, so she's all these things mixed. And Venezuelans are like normally darker ethnicity, and then she said she had blonde hair, and then somebody said she looked like Kate Upton, and I'm like, this makes no sense. So I fell in love with it for her heart and who she was. And when I came out and I saw her for the first time, I was like, wow, she's absolutely stunning, but I still couldn't match a voice to the face. So it was awing, but it was also like, how it doesn't make sense, you know, but it wasn't bad. It was just
different.
Right.
yeah.
That was different.
So how did, when you decided and you said, I do not, first of all, I wanted to come through the TV screen and kind of punch you, but but did you like decide that prior to the wedding? How did you determine that?
That was really determined the day of. There's a lot of stuff, I think, even, you know, on film and off film, that wasn't seen where I was really contemplating, like, you know, what do we do? What do I want to do? And I was on the phone late at night with, you know, like my sister and my uncle, and, you know, trying to figure out, like, you know, what does this mean for the rest of our lives? Because I loved her and her free spirit and everything that we stood for, but I also felt like it was going to bind us beyond just a title of husband and wife. It was, you know, you got to move in together, your bills combined, you start looking at having kids.
That's all in the contract?
No.
It's a marriage.
Oh.
It's a marriage. You know?
All right, I was gonna say, wow,
So-
that's a commitment.
Yeah, so you know, and that's one of those things, you know, is getting to know Giannina through the process, that I didn't want her to feel caged and locked, you know, and you know, we get
Sweet.
yeah, and you know, it was a hard decision. It wasn't for the selfishness of me. I did it for what I felt at the time was for both of us. And I felt like she was doing the same thing. I really hoped they were going to ask me first, you know, because it was up to the moment. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I hated that I embarrassed her like that. That was hard to handle, because that was never my intention. I wanted to leave there with her.
So how do you deal with those judgments of people, you know, that you might face from people during that time? How did you
I've gotten a
deal
lot.
with it?
Yeah, I've
I
gotten a
bet.
lot of them. But you know, I'm a good guy. I have a very high hope in life for me and for her and for the people around me. So I try not to let it get to me too much. I'm just like, you know, they don't know my story. They don't know.
They don't know you.
Yeah, they don't really know me. And it's like, people can hate me for it, but what I did, it wasn't easy. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. So with that and the backlash, I understand from an embarrassing standpoint, and you never want that for somebody at an
No,
altar.
not somebody you care about. That's the other thing, is how did your family deal with that, Giannina? Because they all look devastated.
Yeah. So my parents are like me, right? They're very just spontaneous, and they lead with their heart, and but then they're also like very understanding, and we all make mistakes, and we all do things, and we all grow. So I don't think they were so surprised to hear that I was going to go on a like show of some sort. And so I think that the way that, I don't know, I was raised is always to be like, okay, if my parents didn't get a bad vibe from him, like they knew he was a good person, they just the situations were just really just not ideal. And so
it really was different.
Yeah, really different. And I mean, for some people, yeah, it's great, like you have a successful marriage and everything, but you know, when you're really in that in between, it can get really hard. So my parents understood that, and they're just like, okay, we like him, he treats you nice. Yes. Okay.
It's kind of like the old days of arranged marriages, only you kind of arrange it yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You get to pick.
Yeah. Well, what I thought too was really interesting is with you two, there were difficult moments because I don't know, you're both very passionate. I think probably Giannina, you're a little bit more than Damian, but you know, I have to tell you, the moment that made me really hurt for Damian's male ego. So I'm the only girl, I have 8 brothers. And so I understand men, but when you said that he wasn't bringing it for you physically, and I just sat there and I thought, oh my gosh. And then you got back together and I thought, okay, how do they work through this?
Right. So I think, and I can completely like see you on that, because Spanish, like you can have a very like male bravado, like a very tough man, and you can't have these conversations with most people so openly and so raw of, hey, like I want to talk to you and be completely honest, and this isn't about like your ego, this is about like our, you know, the health of our sex life. And I said it in a way that was very non-constructive, and the way that he picked it up is no ego, completely hearing the fact that I was, you know, I wanted to talk about this, that this was important to me, And because of that conversation, we were able to just figure it out. But if I felt like this was someone that wouldn't be able to reciprocate or listen to me or whatever, then, you know, everyone leaves unsatisfied.
Well, and two, you have to be able to discuss things to have long-term, you know, connection. But that was hard for you, Damian, right?
Yeah, it was very hard. I think it is, and you probably saw my face. Like, it was just.
I saw your face.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of like a little heartbreak, you know. It's hard to handle, especially hearing something like that out loud. I'm more of a, I guess, private person, so like to hear something like that, you know, that it's going out, the whole world's going to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that it's so public.
Yeah, it's not easy, but I had to understand too that, you know, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. There's no reason for me to say that it's great for her or her for me. And you know, in that moment, I was like, I can handle this one or two ways. I get defensive and try to like shield myself, but that doesn't really get anywhere in a relationship.
No, you didn't get that way, and it was very impressive. You know, Damian, looking at that, what would you say was the most difficult thing that you had to deal with doing this show?
Besides me.
Oh, besides. I would say honestly that was a difficult situation for me to get through and overcome, and, you know, to see if I could change that perspective in her mind, not like forcefully, but naturally. And then also the day of the wedding was, you know, the two hardest moments for me. The wedding was much harder. I feel like, you know, a relationship, I feel like it shouldn't be based on sex. It should be based on, you know, who you are, and, you know, build each other off that. And
that's the one thing people don't understand. The key is friendship.
Yeah.
Long-term relationships, it's really getting each other and communicating and loving to be together, you know.
Yeah.
And boy, you guys got thrown into that one, didn't you?
Yeah, we did.
A little bit.
Oh, that's so crazy. So what about you? What was the hardest thing for you, Giannini?
Me?
Giannina. Did I say
Giannina.
Giannina? By the way, it's a beautiful name. I love it.
Yeah, thank you so much. The hardest thing for me, I think it was just really just trusting myself and being vulnerable like that and not holding back, I think was one of the things that I was just, I would tell myself, like, no matter what, if I feel it, I have to like live it. I have to speak my truth. And it wasn't easy at all, especially because it wasn't just me. I was living it with him, and I couldn't speak to my family for the first
right
that we were together, my friends, so I couldn't like gut check myself in different ways. I had to like really trust myself.
You know, I didn't think about that because family is important. Yeah, that would be really difficult. Okay, so we know getting back together was challenging, the show was challenging, but I have a question for you. This is quarantine time. What's the hardest thing about this time for the two of you? Because you really are together.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. One thing I think that, you know, made us really strong during this time is we both still have our own places. So we still work in our own little work areas. So I have my work environment at home. She has hers here. So like we're able to still have that space from each other. Then we're able to go for runs together and work out. Yesterday we did like a full circuit together, you know, on the rooftop, and worked out.
That's nice. Ooh, I think I lost you there for a second. Do you know, I think even in any if you live together, you need your space. You have to have your own space. I think it's super important. A place to go for your time. Okay, so really, really quickly, I just want to know about a couple other couples. Is that all right? Okay, so you all became really good friends, right? So Lauren and Cameron got married. They seemed so solid from the beginning. Did you guys have any doubts about them making it?
I did not. So Cam's probably one of my closest friends, especially.
Really? I bet these kinds of things are like life-changing events.
Yeah, and it's surprising because, like, you know, a lot of people you sort of fade out with. Me and Cam don't talk every day, but when we do talk, we talk for like 2-3 hours. So we'll go out and we'll just, you know, conversate. And I got
like who do you relate to, right?
Yeah, and I got.
You got it, though, right? Yeah, I got it, bro. All right.
Exactly.
And I remember Cameron in the pods. He was like, you know, he wouldn't tell anybody who he was like dating or who he was interested in. He was very, and I remember like the first day he opened up to me and I opened up to him, and I was like, you know, it's Giannina, and he was like, it's Lauren. And I was like, I'd went on a lot of dates with Lauren too. And I was like, y'all are perfect. Like, I'm so happy for
Oh,
you.
isn't that
Yeah.
cool? So you were
Yeah.
kind of like being the family for each other to throw things off of.
Yeah. So
Oh, that is so cool.
I was so happy to hear it. And they stay so strong, not just through the whole pod experience, but even in their real marriage. When they came to my Christmas party or whatever, like they're great together. So
I know, I love them. The other one, what do you keep up with Amber and Barnett?
Yeah. So
And how are they doing?
They're so funny.
They're great. They were meant for each other.
Yeah.
I know,
The
right?
same person.
It's
They're the same person.
it's definitely interesting, I think, because you see that in a lot of people, and it's amazing how the experience like worked out, and like they
How did that was so good, the way
Yeah.
that ended
I
up.
know.
they're more in this love triangle, and it's like where he was supposed to end up, he ended up. Like every decision he made was for the best. So
Do you
it's
think
like
Amber's ever gonna like Jessica?
I don't think that. I think she's made peace with everything.
Yeah.
Amber.
I don't know. Can't
Amber's she's very open, but she has every right to be. And Jessica did what she did, and Jessica had, everybody has their own rights in their own way. But I feel like they're very happy with where they are in life now, and that's all.
Yeah, and you know what, too, Mark seemed to just be so in love with her, but I just never really felt that she seemed all in. I mean, did you feel that way while you were going through it?
Yeah, so me and Mark were really close
He
through it
seemed
as well.
so sweet.
Yeah, and her and Jess got to know each other really well through the process too. And
I love her.
there were times where you didn't feel they were in it, but there were times that I would see Mark, her and Jess, and they were so like in love in that moment. Like, so it was so back and forth. And I can see how Mark, and her both had mixed signals throughout the thing with each other, but she did show signs where they really connected, especially near the end of the experience, where it was like, wow, they could work, so.
And G, what were you going to say?
Well, because I was going to say, like, especially living through the pods and like seeing the way that we were all so in love and super excited and like sharing these moments with each other, like I thought that everyone was going to get married after that. I was like,
wow,
that's how like intense and special and real everything was. And so after everything happened, after we all got out, we all just kind of started experiencing our own thing. So I didn't really know what was happening with other people's relationships. I was just so focused on my own.
Yeah.
Well, it's fascinating. I look at all this and, you have your own YouTube channel, right?
Yes, I do.
And what is it called? It's called
The Vibe with G.
Yes, The Vibe with G. I just subscribed.
Yay! I'm so excited.
But one of the things, what do you think? Because when you all of a sudden become famous, like I started at age 3 performing, and I performed my entire life, so it's not weird to me. But all of a sudden you become instantly famous, and people start sharing all their opinions with you. Which ones were the most surprising to you? Comments that people made, and have any of them bothered you? You're still pretty young,
Yeah, well, I think it's always going to be acknowledged. The fact that people are saying about these things about you, it's always going to be acknowledged. It's just, do I choose to let these things affect me?
Right.
And that's where it's like, I love the sweet things that people say, and I never in a million years expected everyone to be so supportive and caring and loving, but then at the same time, people can be really nasty. And it's just knowing that, maybe you don't really see me as I see me. You only see this piece of me or this thing that you're reflecting off of. So when people say like mean things, I feel that it's just like a reflection of themselves or something that they're dealing with, that they identify with me. And so I just get because that's how, I've done things in the past too. Like if I feel a certain way towards someone, it's because, oh, maybe you remind me of this thing that I don't like about myself, and I'm taking it out on you.
Oh,
and
interesting.
So
Yeah, that's true. And you
you
have to recognize trolls and people who just love to say mean things and stuff. But honestly, people love you and adore you both. It's so fun. Okay, so since both of you are like the first timers on the show.
Oh, geez.
First timers, yeah, right. What advice would you give now to others who might want to do Love is Blind?
I would definitely say
I hear a train.
Yeah, so I live next to 2 trains.
I think I would definitely say for anybody going on to it, there's going to be a lot of people that go on to it. The new word I learned recently, surprisingly, is clout. right? So
Oh,
for the fame, and when we went into this experience, they found us, right? So I didn't even apply for it, and she didn't either. But we didn't know it was going to be Netflix. We didn't know it was going to be Nick and Vanessa Lachey. We had no idea until we got on set that they're like, "Hey, this is going to be a Netflix production. Here's your host, Nick and Vanessa." We're like, "Whoa, what?" So we waited a little over a year, for this a year and a half for this to air.
wow.
So we didn't know if it was going to air or when it was going to air. If it was like, "Hey, is it a dud?" So
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Really? So how did you hide everything?
just
don't talk about it, or don't post
Yeah.
pictures about each other.
Yeah, there were always subtle hints in her videos. Like my head would be chopped off lifting an object, and or I would be on the beach and you'd see her holding a hand. Like there were always subtle hints.
He was only like
Interesting.
a torso and a man without a head for like a year and a half on my Instagram.
I'd have smiley faces over my face, like
So good.
But yeah, so anybody
cute
going on
personality,
to, I would
too.
definitely say you can try to go on it for the fame, but that's what nobody in the original cast did. That we all did it because we were truly interested in something of the unknown, and it's not for the weak-minded, and that's no disrespect to anybody. It's very challenging. It's very exhausting, but also can be very beautiful. So
well, to really have that connection, and that's such a hard thing to find today for your generation, I think, so just really, really quickly, after everything that you've been through, do you really believe that you can fall in love without seeing someone?
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that.
You still got a lot to build. I think once you actually see each other, you still have to. I think there's still a part of us. There is a part of us that want to be physically attracted to one another, and so. But there is a point where the inside of somebody, like who they really are, it can be just as beautiful, if not more beautiful, than what somebody looks like. So
well, it's kind of like what I've always said. I think a lot of people your age start backwards. They start at the intimacy part and then try to be friends. And I think it's really interesting that you're friends first, because that's what makes it go long term. It really does. But seriously, I thank you for talking to me. Seriously, I love the show, and I really love that you guys are back together. It's a phenomenal thing, and I know that everybody loves you. Thank you so much, Giannina. You're so cute. Damian, you're darling. You can just tell you're a good guy, and that's so nice to see. And that you both did it for the right reasons. That was a very cool thing for me to see. Everybody loves you. You should see all the comments. It's everywhere.
That's amazing.
But I appreciate your time. Please stay safe during this time. You guys are amazing. And to everybody out there, remember, Love is Blind is streaming on Netflix. I'm telling you, you've got to watch it. And you need to check out Giannina's YouTube channel, The Vibe with G, to keep up with these two, because they're darling. Don't forget to watch The Talk weekdays on CBS, 2 p.m. Eastern Time and 1 p.m. Pacific Time. And don't forget to come back to Instagram Live next week, where the ladies at the Talk will be interviewing more fun people. But I have really fun with you guys. So have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all you beautiful moms out there. And thank you for spending some time with me. You guys are awesome.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. You're darling.